Morning, guys. Mark Ferrasci with ProTech. I'm sitting here watching Michael Ellis'es new video that they put out on Leerburg and enjoying the hell out of it. And for those that don't know it, a lot of the stuff that my whole baseboard nowadays is the marker training and Michael Ellis'es Foundation and his dogs. Because it works, and he's very savvy about that, and it's a great baseboard, especially when you're trying to communicate and teach your customers what's going on. They're not all going to be experts and as into it as heavy as I am, so they need to learn and grow. So this is a great thing to kind of dovetail. So what I'll do with my customers is I will work with them and start to educate them, and I will point them towards this so that they have the same terminology, the same philosophies, the same baseboard. But why would I do that when you can let them watch that and they can do it on their own? Well, reality is they're still going to need somebody to coach them to be able to be on the outside of that fishbowl. Keep in mind that we're all human, so we all have kind of blinders on, and we see things with our perspective, but we're again human, so we may not see what somebody else might see if they're looking in. So even me, I will go to other trainers because they're going to mention things, they're going to have accent points or see something in my handling skills or my training direction that they may be able to accent positives that I may not see. So the big key with this is, and if you're a professional or if you're even just learning and growing, realize that we're not perfect. We're all human, okay? So a lot of times if you go to IGP as an example, which used to be called Schutzen, you'll always have somebody they call a spotter, okay? And they'll ask somebody to go spot the other person. And the reason they do that is the other person is going to be able to see things that you may not when you're going down the field healing with your dog, and you have habits and things that you might start doing that need to be corrected and maybe need to be pointed out, okay? Or something that they may see that you're not going to see. So the reason I'm accenting this is to make you realize that, again, we're all human. We all have blinders on. We have the tendency to do that. But having an open mind and realizing that you never stop learning, you never stop growing, and you should never have a closed mind. Another thing that Michael advocates that I've thought of this way for years, way before he started on these videos and before that happened. But I've always had this attitude. And I'll say it the way that I've said it for years. And when I started this, I think I was 16 or 17 when I was working at a training firm. And I came up with something as a young man, and it was really right on the way I said it. And here's how it goes. It goes, I know everything and I know nothing. And I know nothing before I know everything. And I hope I feel that way when I'm 85. Now, I'm a little older now, so I want to change that to 115 because 85 now seems like it's right around the corner. But when I was a kid, I would say 85 because that seemed like it was an old man to me, right? The idea is that you never stop learning, you never stop growing. And when you do, it's time to end it, okay? If you stop wanting to learn, you stop wanting to grow and realize that you never stop learning and growing and you stop reaching, you'll see a lot of trainers do this where they close off their mind and they think they know everything. And they start to have a very rigid attitude, and they kind of have an attitude that nobody else can teach them something, okay? Reality is this, that even a person that knows nothing, that comes in with a different perspective and doesn't have these blinders up, can show me something. I used to manage for a major pet store chain. I used to I've always kind of been in a leadership type of a position, or I've worked my way up to that with whatever company I'm working for. And when I do that, I always have the attitude when I have a new employee or somebody new on my crew that I am going to make sure that I listen to them for the first 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm asking them for things. What do you see that I may not see is where my direction is. I don't say that to them, but in a general sense, I'm looking to see what their perspective is because, again, we all tend to do this. And if you're in the same environment all the time, you start to get weathered by it and you start to close your mind off, and you're not looking for these things, and you may not be doing exactly right, or you may not see a certain perspective that somebody's fresh when he comes into it will see. Okay, I'll give you a good example. When I used to do security, I was always dealing with emergencies. And when we had a call for a smell of gas, let's say in a building, I would go into the building and your nose is fresh when you first go in. And you smell that smell, but after a few minutes or so, you may end up not being able to, your nose gets polluted by it to a point where you're no longer smelling it. So I would wait for facility maintenance to show up, the guys that would be in charge of fixing all this equipment and knew their systems real well within the building. And they would walk in and I would be looking for their fresh smell, okay? Because they're no longer, they're not aware of it. They're out in the fresh air and they come in, and the first thing they're going to do, their nose is going to key in on it. So that's the same way learning happens, that after a while you start to kind of put blinders up and you no longer may see the things that you would see otherwise, okay? So again, Michael Ellis is a godsend for our industry with what Leerburg's put on in these videos and things, but you being a layman, maybe not being a professional, you may not be as quick to pick up on this stuff. For me, this is stuff I've rehashed 1,000 times, but I love it. I'm a training geek. So to me, he can have 3 different lessons in 3 different places, and I will enjoy every one, even though he covers the same material. The reason for that is he may just be in a certain mood, and he may be accenting certain other accent points that I didn't catch the last time. Same thing with me. I may be in a different mood. My mind might be a little bit more open, and I might catch something the 3rd time that I didn't catch the 1st time. Okay, so to me, it never ends being enjoyable, and I love the hell out of it. So when this came up, even though I know a lot of the stuff that Michael teaches in his philosophies and his training, I still went and got this video, okay, and still got this training course. The reason I did is because I want to see these other action points. And sure enough, he's got things he's pointing out and how he's saying it, and I love that. That's the geek in me. The geeky dog trainer that I am, that's kind of just who I am. So that's my little rambling for this morning, just so you get a little bit of my feedback in regards to this. But if you haven't got this and you're into that sort of thing and you're a geek like me, or even if you're just learning, go get this series. It's a good one. It was a 3-day seminar that they did at Leerburg. They filmed it and then they put it into class structure that they've got put together on their system. And they do a great job. If you ever notice something, they're using the same terminology with most of their videos, depending on who it is. If it's Forrest Mickey, he's the one that put all that glossary together in that same terminology, that same thing, within their markers, within their terminology. And I will usually have a customer and I will copy paste that and give it to my customer when they're first coming in with me, because I want them to learn the same vocabulary, the same words that I'm using. They'll catch on quicker, they'll learn faster, and this is kind of my foundation with all my training now. Even though I have a lot of tools in my tool bag going back 20, 30 years where we used to use compulsion and a lot more pressure on the dogs, that kind of thing. I still have all those bags of tricks. So if I need to pull them out, I can use them, but I generally don't. That's not my philosophy anymore. Now it's very much marker training, positive association with food, motivational toys, etc. I get into it heavy, and that's kind of my baseboard. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of who I am as a balanced trainer. So I'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Mark Ferrasci with ProTech Dog Training, watching the new series 3 days with Leerburg at their place they just put out. It's a brand new one. I thank you much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.